Pickaxe.
Hello, and welcome back to the Review of Death, a Doctor Who podcast, your fortnightly home for all things Doctor Who. Hello, I'm Matthew Toffolo.
Hello.
I'm joined by Billy Garratt-John.
Why was that weird?
I don't know, I added in an extra hello, like I was reading the news or something. Like I was going to tell some bad news, I don't know.
Is it bad news, Matt? How are you feeling? Because we've been following this saga through the last couple of episodes about your enjoyment factor or lack thereof for this new series.
Yeah,
sometimes all you need is a good trailer to, kind of up the ante.
But I mean, all you need is some changes, as the trailer will attest. I mean, I have been a bit of a miserable bastard. I think that's
the technical term. Yeah.
But I gotta say, the trailer. I was excited for the trailer to come out, and I watched it, and I was like, "Ooh, this looks very good. This looks like they've spent a lot of Disney money on it."
It does.
I was quite like, "Wow, this looks good." But obviously, the proof's in the tasting of the pudding.
Is that the phrase? Is that exactly
how
people say it?
No, what's the phrase?
The proof is in the tasting of the pudding. Is this like Mavity? Like everybody thinks that's just how it's said now.
Yeah. The proof of the pudding is in the tasting. I think that's
nice.
I think that's the way.
There we go.
I just had a stroke and my words went backwards. So we're going to talk about the trailer and we're going to go through it frame by frame. Maybe not quite that insane, but we're going to go through it. We're just going to speculate and talk about things. Initially watching it, I was like, ooh, that's a bit like this and that's a bit like that. So I think we'll have a good old chat. But before we do that, there was a bit of news that happened.
Yes, there was.
Literally the day after we recorded the last episode, which was Stephen Moffat is going to be writing for the new series of Doctor Who, which we kind of knew. That was sort of going around, wasn't it, for quite a while. So he's writing episode 3, I believe, of which bits of it are in the trailer. Someone compiled all which episode's what on Twitter. So if I can remember which episode's what, I will try and say this is episode this. Yes, so what do you think about that then? And he's doing the Christmas one as well, which, I mean, that hasn't been officially announced, but that's what everyone thinks.
I mean, we've sort of said we knew about it before. Yeah. So I've known about this for at least a year, and I probably would have told you immediately after I was told. And the reasoning that I was told at the time, which I totally understand, and I think it's I should say, as someone who's a Moffat hater generally, I'm very excited to see him back. And I know that there was a bit of a worry about whether or not people would react well to it because they want to see all new writers being given opportunities and, a new team come on board, and let's not think about what came before and just focus on the now and the future and blah, blah, blah. But I think if you want to get that first year right, which is what they want to do, they want to get it perfect. I think that you do bring in people that have made it the success that it is. Yeah. And Stephen Moffat is one of those people. So I'm very excited to see what he does, and especially under a showrunner, because I think the issue with Stephen when he was writing the program is maybe that certain creative decisions went unchecked in a way. Yeah. There wasn't somebody there to sort of slap his hand away from the keyboard and go, that's a bit daft. Let's focus on the story first, and then we can get the kinks in later. Yeah.
So the Beatles are in this series, not the Kinks.
Sorry, it is the Beatles. Yes, you're right. Absolutely. Apologies. Sorry, the Kinks is next year. I'm excited. I'm excited, and it was nice to see, generally speaking, support for the news that he's coming back.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with it, because like you said, we've always enjoyed the stories that he wrote under Russell in the past. He's very good for a good concept stories or concept monsters. So, I anticipate no less from whatever he's got cooking for the new season. But
can you smell what the Moff is cooking?
Can you smell what the Moff is cooking? Yeah. But before we do that, I've got something to say that I've been meaning to say for literally the last couple of months since we did our Day of the Moon
oh my
review.
God.
Now, in that video, I said that I bought some Doctor Who figures from eBay from that story.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they turned up, but they didn't just turn up. They turned up with a note. And I shall read it to you.
And some anthrax.
Yeah. Hi, Matt. Just a quick one. Absolutely love the pod. Your reviews on YouTube made me collect myself, so thank you, John and Billy, for it. These have been stored away for years, so if in bad nick, it's my fault, not ours. Haha. Best, Ruben. And Ruben even put
Ruben.
a little picture of a Dalek on there as well. So thank you very much, Ruben. I'm sorry that I spent this long to get this out there. But thank you for supporting the pod. There we are.
Send me some free shit as well.
I paid for it. I'll have you know.
That's very sweet.
Yeah, I thought, I must share it, and then I put the piece of paper down, and then lots of other stuff came in, and then I found it the other day. I was like, shit, I keep forgetting to do it. So there we go. I'm glad I got it out there. And on that note,
on that note, how do you feel about Moffat coming back yourself? Sort of.
Yeah, I'm. It's been years now, hasn't it, since he's written a Doctor Who? So I'm interested to see what's been ruminating in that clever head of his. And just interested to see what he does, really. I'm excited. I hope that next season, perhaps more new writers start coming in and more new talent. I'm surprised that we haven't heard that. Who was that lady who wrote some very good Doctor Who's under Chris Chibnall? She did the Weeping Angel story and the Cyberman one. What's her name? She was very good. She had a very good eye for like horror-y Doctor Who.
Yes.
And
I'm not Googling her name.
Mary?
Genuinely, Maxine Alderson just came to me.
Maxine, not Mary. You're going with an M.
Are you Harry, Mary?
Mary.
Yes, so that's, I think you're right. I think the idea is that we get, because it's not just Russell and Stephen writing this year. We've got the two writers from Loki coming in and doing bits as well. And I think that is the idea, is that just steady the ship with year one, set out the foundations, and then we can bring new writers in from year two onwards. And
I guess it's good for Disney Plus, isn't it? That, if you're getting writers from one of their huge flagship shows, then that's obviously puts them in good favor. They obviously think, that's good. I don't know if they wrote for season 2 of Loki. I don't think they did, because season 2 of Loki was boring as anything. It was such a drag. I don't know how anyone enjoyed it, and it was just It was boring.
We've already managed to find something to moan about in this sea of great news. It's not even to do with that.
It's not even to do with Doctor Who. Meanwhile, X-Men 97, that was brilliant. So there we are.
Is it done now? Is it all wrapped up?
No. It's on for the next 8 weeks. So
wow.
Yeah, I'm a happy camper.
He's a happy boy.
I'm a happy boy. So, from one Disney Plus show to another, let's talk about Doctor Who. So
crazy. We should say right from the off some technical specifications for you in this 2-minute and 5-second trailer.
Yes.
It has come to my attention that the trailer posted on YouTube, on both the BBC's accounts and on Disney Plus's accounts, was not posted with the right HDR conversion. So it's very, very washed out.
Yeah.
But the trailer that's posted on Disney Plus is the right one. So international viewers, you can find a nice, crisp HDR copy with some genuine contrast and, some good looks in there.
They've give the international fans better viewing times and better quality trailers.
Because we're the only people that matter.
Yeah. Right then.
So exciting times. Should we start with the kind of the main motif of it to me seems TARDIS.
Yes. Yeah.
Very TARDIS heavy.
Very TARDIS heavy. Yeah. I mean, really just getting the point across that this is a show about a man with a TARDIS that can go anywhere in time and space. Anything can happen, which I think is the perfect way to sell the series to people who don't know what Doctor Who is.
Absolutely.
And like we said at the start, looking at the trailer, it totally stands shoulder to shoulder with some of those Disney Plus shows, in terms of budget. It looks bonkers. I mean, well, the first shot is of Unit Tower, in the middle of London. Yeah.
Did you see the Avengers Instagram account having a pop?
Yeah.
Good for them. At least somebody's acknowledged it.
Yeah. So we have this lovely shot of the TARDIS. Oh, God, that's loud. We've got this lovely shot of the TARDIS going, sliding in through Unit. Mm-hmm. Doctor Who in his best Grease Lightning outfit.
Yeah.
Saying, give me the lovin'. What do we think about that?
Give me the lovin'. I knew that it was going to annoy a lot of people. Probably with the surname Toffolo, I imagined it was going to be an immediate...
Very, very specific.
Very specific, isn't it? Only the Toffolos are annoyed by that. Yeah. I could see the trailer play out and him say that, and Johnny going, what did he say? And you going, ugh.
It's fine. I'm not going to be grumpy, but I did sort of go...
A slight grumble.
Yeah. There was a minute moan. New series, it says.
New series.
TARDIS on a cliff top. Where did he come from? Where did he go? So we got.
I do like this shot of the TARDIS materializing in the flat and ruining the roof. The ceiling.
That's great. Thank me. Where have you gone, Crikey? I'm still 20 seconds in. So we've got Ruby's mum saying, asking about the Doctor. We got the TARDIS turning up in the flat, which, as you said, looks great, especially like with the plaster coming down from the ceiling. Bit of footage from the Christmas special. There's quite a bit of reused footage from the Christmas special.
Yes.
But I guess, for people who may have missed the Christmas special, when this drops, I guess that'll be front and center above it all. So, I mean, if you're not a Doctor Who fan, you might go on and say, I'm going to watch this Doctor Who show, and you'll get 3 episodes on the first day.
You will.
Which is good for you fathers. Unless you're like me, miserable, and says, no, we shouldn't be getting 2 episodes on one day. What is this? What is this madness? I was listening
back to that episode the other day.
I cut a bit because I thought I sounded too much of a miserable sod.
But it was so funny being like, Doctor Who being shown internationally, weirdly, is not the thing you were most annoyed about. It was 2 episodes at once. That's sacrilege. Hilarious.
I want it to be... I like savouring my television, especially when it's something like Doctor Who. X-Men the other day, they had a 2-episode start, which was, and I watched them both. But it's a bit different, the way that I ingest Doctor Who as a piece of television.
Consume the content.
As I consume the content, this evergreen content. Isn't
it funny? This is much more of an evergreen content pipeline than we ever got out of the previous regime, and that's where that phrase came from.
It was, indeed, it was. But I'm sure Disney Plus know everything about evergreen pipelines and all that sort of shit. Right, so TARDIS turns up again. Basically a recap of the Christmas special, that this bloke's bumped into Ruby and he's got this lovely little bit of dialogue about, I'd love it if you came with me. I've got the universe at my fingertips. We've got that cracking shot of him saying, I'm the Doctor. And then we have these flashes of the Doctor. So let's go through them one by one. So we've got him in the TARDIS. Then we've got him in his 60s attire looking
so this is,
very
I guess,
cool.
from the Beetle episode.
This is episode 2. The Devil's Cord. But there's no cords being worn here. He's in a striped suit.
Pinstripe suit. Very good. Well done, Matt. Well done.
I love this costume. I think he looks feckin' brilliant.
He does look great. He looks great.
How
are you feeling about seeing all of these different outfits sort of slammed together in one trailer? Because I know that you weren't too keen on.
Well, we'll come to that. We'll come to that in a moment. But so I'll rate them as we go through. So I'm a big fan of the Beatles look. I think they put that front and center on a new piece of promo art. Those two like having a jive, having a
jig.
So yeah, that's great. So next we have him in what can only be described as a monk's habit.
Yes.
The Doctor has a habit of wearing habits.
Nice.
William Hartnell, Matt Smith. 3 out of 15 of them.
They do make a habit out of it, don't they?
Yeah. Tom Baker kind of did in real life.
John. Didn't John wear a habit?
Yes, he did in Time Warrior. Well done. You saved my bacon there.
You're welcome.
You have a habit of doing that. Right. So Time May Change Me. David Bowie.
Yeah, some Bowie in there. Fantastic.
Yeah. Which I love, love a bit of David Bowie. So, that's a win for me.
I did message somebody involved in the production and I said, there's the Disney money straight away, is the use of that song.
Yeah.
Because that must have been a lot of cash to remix it and to, get all the stems and stuff. But also, is this something that we are likely to see on home media? Because you either have the trailer and it's used just for those promotional purposes, or contractually you ask them to sign it in perpetuity, which means you can use it forever, and whatever you have on your end, you can put it out on that. Yeah. And I got a very flat, no, it's not going to happen. So everybody rip your copies of this trailer while you can, because it's not going to end up on home media from what I understand.
My God, so when I'm 50 and the collection set comes out, you mean I'm not going to be able to...
set, season 1.
Oh yes, of course, season 1, yeah. How do you feel about that? Are you still, does your asshole clench every time it pops up on screen?
My sphincter does clench slightly. I think I'm okay with it because I guess it's probably the most egregious of the sort of Disney edicts. In my opinion, it's like they can't bring themselves to acknowledge to an audience that haven't watched Doctor Who before that this is a continuation.
Yeah.
But then I also understand that from an audience perspective, for a new season of a TV show to go on to a platform that they use regularly and that they haven't seen before, to see season 30 whatever on there is probably going to be a bit like, phew. No, thank you.
Yeah,
I'll stick with new and original programming.
Exactly, and then especially if they go on and go, wait, where's the other X amount of seasons? So it makes sense. I have no problem with it. I mean, I said it in probably one of the very first episodes of this podcast. We talked about it, didn't we? And I said I think they'll go series 1. I was half right. They went for season 1,
which I prefer. I prefer a season to a series.
Yeah,
there's our Doctor Who purists coming out.
That's it. So we got Dr. Monk, we got Regency Doctor.
Yes.
And again, another really good costume. I love it. I do like the fact that he's wearing, different outfits. But there's more than one Doctor in this image because David Tennant makes an appearance.
David Tennant appears as a Force ghost.
Yes. He's in all the screens behind him as well. I never noticed that.
He is. I hadn't noticed that before. Now, I think it's fair to say this is going to be this era's how many faces have you had moments where we just get a flash through of all the different Doctors.
Do you think we might get them all? Morbius Doctors.
I think we'll get... Yes, I think we will get them all. I think we'll get them all appear on screen.
Because this is David Tennant circa the 10th Doctor rather than the 14th Doctor. I think someone on Twitter has already worked out that it's from the next Doctor.
Okay.
Which is incredible that someone was able to do that. But exciting. I was quite surprised. I did not anticipate seeing him turning up in this trailer.
No, but like we were saying, there is obviously going to be a moment like this because, as we were saying, with introducing a new audience to it all, they need to sort of clock on to the fact that there is a wealth of content behind this, because invariably, I think it's fair to say that once this season goes out, we'll probably get the new series 2005, 2023 pop up on Disney, I would imagine.
Yeah, well, maybe.
And it's still weird to think it's classified like that, now that this is definitely season 1.
Yeah.
This is Doctor Who 2024 onwards.
Yeah.
It's just very strange.
Weird, isn't it? Yeah. Disney Who. Should every episode start like the old Disney movies? No,
it's a bit boring. It starts with ching, which is not quite as magical.
Not quite as good. So we've got the TARDIS in Bristol. Again, Christmas special footage. It's called the TARDIS Time and Space Machine. Is it safe? The Doctor, no idea. What do you mean you got no idea? You've been doing this for bloody long enough. You know it's not safe. Come on, you silly bugger. Right.
We've got the anti-gravity TARDIS, which is cool.
This is cool. So they're floating around. A nice VFX shot of the TARDIS. And then... It's Jurassic Park.
It is.
So I loved this little sequence.
Yeah.
The whole Ruby saying about, what if I step on a butterfly? You know, is it going to change everything? Something that we've never really sort of talked about in Doctor Who, have we? The whole butterfly effect thing.
That particular thing, no.
No, I mean, there was a film about it with Ashton Kutcher.
I remember it.
There was an episode of The Simpsons where Homer does it and cocks everything up. So interesting to have Doctor Who do it for like a little tongue-in-cheek gag.
Yes. So I have 2 questions. Firstly, do you think that this is just a quick look where we can go? Do you want to see some dinosaurs?
I think so.
And then they pop back in the TARDIS and get on with the rest of the story.
I reckon this is episode 1 and he's going to be like, right, let's go on a quick whistle-stop tour of this, that and the other. And then they'll end up on the space station or the spaceship, whatever it is, which will be the crux of the story, of which we see later on. We've got Ruby here looking like a lizard crossed with a tree, crossed with a, I don't know, something with antennas. Yeah, if that's your bag.
There we go.
Go for it.
Have you seen yet the clip of Shooty watching this trailer back?
No, I haven't.
Just appeared on Instagram, I think.
Oh, right, okay.
And him, his amazing laugh, laughing at
does he cackle
Ruby
at this?
with that face.
Yeah, but he does. He does have a fantastic laugh, bless him.
He does, it's infectious.
Right, so
we've got some stuff in the title sequence.
Yeah. And then we have the spaceship.
Space station.
So I think that's from episode 1. That is the spaceship from that story. With all of my adventures, I've never seen anything like this before. Then we've got those 2. Now, I'm not sure what episode this is from.
Is this the snowy interior scene?
Yeah. So I don't know if that's towards the finale, maybe?
Well, he's got his white T-shirt on, which he wears under the biker gear. So I wonder if, that's from the finale.
And is that a whistle around his neck? Is he presenting the new series of Gladiators?
It does look like a whistle.
On my first whistle.
Although, actually, on my first whistle. Having said that, though, is he wearing... I think he's wearing combat trousers, and so is...
Oh, yeah.
So is Ruby. So I think it might be from earlier in the series, maybe.
I wish I'd have kept that Twitter account with all the list of episodes, because they knew what episode it was from.
They knew what was what.
I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, I mean, we'd seen him out and about, haven't we, filming this stuff.
I almost wonder whether or not that's supposed to be... I mean, as you say, there's an Instagram account or a Twitter account that's laid out all the episodes, but it kind of... Does it look like there's maybe an amp on the screen there, and like a cabinet, and then a piano in the background? If that might be Abbey Road or something.
Oh, maybe.
Because what's this thing on the edge of screen? Is it a screen or a mirror?
Yeah,
or something?
I was wondering that. Is that some sort of like telly type thing?
Yeah.
Because she's looking at it quite intently, as is the Doctor. So maybe it must be some sort of view screen, perhaps. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Interesting.
And then we skip on to the Regency episode, and we get our first monster.
There we
go. Which is the lady that was in Torchwood who played Susie. Oh, I'm very bad at this. I'm trying to pause it on the monster, but I keep missing it. So she's a bit of an old bird from the looks of things.
Yeah, bit of an old bird.
Bit of an old bird. So this is the Regency one. Anything else to add to that? It's got a bird lady in it.
Bird lady, yeah. Put me in the mind of most of the monsters that you got from sort of Russell's Who of like, you can still see the actor underneath, but just add some prosthetics around the edge.
Yeah. My first thought was the Twin Dilemma, those bird people from that story. Oh, yeah. The Jocondans.
Yeah. The Jocondans. I wonder if, that separation from Classic Who and the fact that so much of Classic Who has been referenced in New Who means that Russell might, he'll come up with obviously new and original monsters, but may every now and again just choose something massively obscure. I mean, the fact that he brought the Meep back is like, we could have something like that, happen in the show where random monsters get brought back for no reason. Yeah.
So I guess our first baddie. I love this line of her saying, "Oh my Bridgerton." That's great. I like that. Again, looking very nice in their costumes. And then
June Hudson.
Yes. June Hudson herself.
Marvelous.
Fantastic.
Great to see her.
Bless her. Being attacked by Jinx Monsoon with all of the musical notes and stuff floating around her. Very good. Very interesting. So I guess this is kind of like in the vein of the Toy Maker, one of our first supernatural baddies.
And that is a theme, isn't it? That pops up a bit later.
And it comes up later. So interesting. And interesting that they put it in the trailer because, Russell was talking about it in interviews. And I assumed that this was just him saying, oh, this is just something that we're doing this season, just, as is. But for them to actually reference it within the world of Doctor Who, that, there's more of a supernatural element going on here, I thought was quite interesting.
And will certainly have fed back from what happened in the 60th anniversary.
Yes,
And the Toy Maker and his legions. Yeah,
and I can't remember whether it was the Toy Maker novelization or maybe it was the Church on Ruby... No, it was the Church on Ruby Road novelization. Explicitly said that the Goblin King was part of those legions of the Toy Maker. So all of this fantastical stuff is all happening because of him. Which is cool. And it makes sense. It makes sense. You'd have a god of toys, you'd have a god of music, you'd have a god of
eating babies.
And shit songs.
How are you feeling about we'll get to it, but there is clearly a very heavy musical element that's permeating its way into one of the episodes.
Yes, well, when we get there, we'll get there. I will let you know. So we have that. Jinx Monsoon eats June Hudson. And then we have our first shot at the episode penned by Stephen Moffat, which is Ruby firing a massive gun, kind of reminiscent of the Preacher guns from the Cybermen stories.
Yeah, I was going to say, yes, it does look very, very similar to that, actually. And I think, is that in the background, is that the Doctor stood on a landmine?
Yes. Now, in the previous trailer, we saw that shot, didn't we, of the foot on the landmine. Now, this is my shot in the dark for this Stephen Moffat-y story. I reckon most of the episode is going to be set in this little area. Yeah. And I reckon the Doctor is going to be stuck on that landmine for most of the story.
Yes.
And it's going to be, how do they work this out? How can they, if he releases his foot, then the planet blows up or something. I don't know. Yeah. So I'm interested to see how that all works out. And obviously we've got Ruby firing at something. Maybe there's something, horrible monster lurking off screen that we can't see. But immediately, one of the things that I'm struck by is how varied everything is. We've got, present day stuff, the kitchen sink stuff that we talked about last time in the Slovene review. We've got historical stuff with Regency era, with the 60s. We've got outer space spaceships, and now we've got an alien planet, or something like that. So
I think that's exactly as you said. It calls back to what we said in the last episode, that it's like Doctor Who is. I think Russell's going to try and show how malleable it is as a franchise, and how many different stories you can tell. Whether that means in series 2 they kind of pull back and they don't do a musical episode or whatever, but it's like, hey, in theory we could go this far. Yeah, later on down the line. Yeah. And as we were saying as well, like the kind of present, past, future, we're kind of hitting all angles sequentially through the series by the looks.
Yeah. And I think that we're talking about Doctor's costumes. This one, I mean, can't really see it too well here, but just looks like a man. Yeah. So she's shooting at stuff. This place is completely mad. Now, we've got a drum. We got a drum with a face in it. Now, this is my punt for the Beatles episode. I think Jinx Monsoon turns the Beatles into their instruments. I think that's Ringo Starr stuck in his drums.
I was going to say the same thing. I think that this is actually going to be where the Beatles find themselves for the majority of that story.
Yeah.
I wonder, it's different if you have somebody from, say, the Regency era or William Shakespeare times or whatever, because they are historical figures that have been dead for many hundreds of years.
Yeah.
You can sort of get away with putting anything into their mouth. Yeah. But considering the fact that, John Lennon was only shot sort of 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And both Paul and Ringo are still here, and it's only been, sort of 22 years since George died.
Yeah.
If I was Russell, I'd be probably quite cautious about how much of them I'm putting into it.
Yeah.
Especially if they don't have the license to use the music.
Yes.
So I would guess that, yes, the majority of the time the Beatles are spent. I don't know how Paul's going to squeeze inside his violin bass, but or John's hidden inside his harmonica. But I would wager this is how they spend the majority of their time.
Okay, interesting stuff.
Especially considering they look nothing fucking like the actual Beatles.
No, this is the Beatles that you get from Wish. I think is so then we've got Kate saying things seem to be turning more and more supernatural.
And we had a shot with the slug as well in the foreground.
Yeah, so that's episode 5, I believe.
Yeah.
Episode 5. Sluggies. Then we've got this shot. Now, is this from the Christmas special, or is this something new?
Of the
lamp.
Pointing. Oh, the lamp.
Yeah.
I think
it looks like Christmas.
It does look like Christmas. I think this is new. I don't think that's from the Christmas special.
So is this going back to where Ruby was first placed?
I think so, yeah, because there's another shot that comes up very, very briefly that is also from that, I think.
Okay. So we've got a glass smashes. Is that's
got to
also
be the Devil's Cord?
Yeah, because
you can see on the little tape boxes next to the glass it says EMI.
Yeah.
So it's
all of that era, isn't it? Also, someone's been having a pickle sandwich by the looks of things. Oh.
I was going to say I was surprised, depending on what era that we're in with the Beatles here. That's either a pickle sandwich on the plate.
Yeah.
Or a big fat doobie smoking away on the edge of a plate.
Do you think that glass smashing is because someone sung a very high note?
I think it's the Devil's Cord that's caused that
smash.
Oh,
clever. So then we have a pointy finger. Ruby's mum?
Almost certainly, and it's quite difficult to tell, but
it's a lady's hand, my lord.
It's a lady's hand, my lord.
You have a woman's hand, my lord.
And I think those dimples look quite Millie Gibson-esque, if I do say so myself. Not that I study her face enough to know that in the dark that's what she looks like. But I would wager, as we've sort of said before, that whoever that hooded figure was that left the baby is probably Ruby herself in the future.
Do we reckon it's a Dave Lister situation? Do you reckon it's our Rob or Ross?
I think it's an Ouroboros thing, yeah.
Yeah. So then we have a little bit from episode 1 with the bogeyman. So it's interesting watching Shooty here. He has that that moment where he holds on to Ruby, like in a bit of a Scooby-Doo, sort of like Shaggy and Scooby moment. Very Patrick Troughton was my first thing.
Very
Patrick Troughton. And it's interesting because I was thinking this, we're so used to, with doctors lately, being quite macho and like, I stand up to the monster. We haven't had a doctor like this in, ages. A doctor who's a bit more, so interesting for him to take on that persona, potentially.
Definitely. I like it. And I think it sort of chimes with stuff Millie Gibson said in interviews before, that her and the doctor are sort of like naughty school kids.
Yeah.
And you get that feeling of sort of fizzing with sort of energy and being jumpy and being daft and making each other scream or whatever it is. I get that from this scene, that they're sort of feeding into each other. It's like watching an episode of Most Haunted where one person screams in the corner and then that sets everybody else off.
Yeah,
it's that
very
sort
much
of,
so.
Everybody's freaked out, heightened emotions.
And I love that line of the doctor when she says, is that a monster? And he says, no, don't be silly. There's no such thing as monsters. It's just creatures you haven't met yet. But inevitably,
at them.
This is a monster.
Yes.
This is the bogeyman, I believe it's been referred to. And it looks pretty good,
interestingly, if we look at it as they scream and turn around and run down the corridor, it's not actually there anymore. It's not at the end of the corridor.
Oh, yes. So maybe that's cut from a bit further on. Maybe they run away and then they come down that way. And then we have, this was the shot that made me think, oh wow, this is some money being spent here of the streets of London.
With
Cardiff.
the kind of smog that you would expect on the average day. Coming out of a tube station.
Very
if you
much
ever go to a city where you have to blow your nose at the end of each day and black stuff comes out of it, why the fuck are you living there, Londoners?
It's grim, isn't it? Really grim. So we've got that little shot. Then we've got the Doctor and Ruby in unit. So now we've got the Doctor's explanation saying that there are powers beyond the universe so vast. And then we've got a shot
the screaming into the void as well.
We've got the screaming into the void. We've got the, I'm just going to play it. We've got the planets covered with all that weird smoky stuff. So obviously the same kind of smoke that we're seeing on Earth. So what is this smoke? This is a bit like the flux, isn't it? Is a bit that
very
kind
fluxy.
of very fluxy. But maybe it's the flux's supernatural brother, the Mux.
Do you think it's going to be referenced this series? Because if we are having this big universe-spanning disaster, which appears to be the sort of thrust of it, do you think that we're going to get references to what's happened, or if indeed the flux has anything to do with certain forces being let into the universe? And
I mean, I don't see why not. If we're getting David Tennant in the trailer, and we know, well, we're getting Mel in the trailer and Kate Stewart in the trailer, and in the previous trailer we got New Rose in it as well. We know that this new era is not afraid to show the hand of, all the old stuff.
Yes.
Compared to what we were talking about last time about, Aliens of London, being a bit more shy about those things. So it's interesting. So I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if something got mentioned. And then we have, like you said, the Doctor. Again, this must be from the finale because he's in his Grease Lightning outfit. Do you think he's looking out on the devastation?
Yes, I guess so. Or it literally is screaming into the void, isn't it? So it probably wouldn't be someone. It's this big yawning cataclysm. So maybe looking on at the Earth as it gets consumed by all this stuff or something. That's a good shout as well. Then we've got the clock striking midnight, Ruby's clock. I don't really know what this next shot is. Is that a tuning fork in the water? That is a tuning fork, being put in the water. So I'm guessing that's probably also from episode 2.
Right, okay. Devil's Cord. So again, Devil's Cord, the TARDIS explodes.
I'm loving, by the way, because we've only ever really seen from knowledge those roundels, the light up roundels, all being one colour individually. But I'm loving, if you look at that clip as the TARDIS explodes, all of the roundels are flashing different colours. which looks awesome.
Yeah, I've read a few behind-the-scenes things, and they said that they were all programmed to change colours independently, which must be insane to try and work out. But yeah, it's great. It's a fantastic TARDIS. It's a stunning TARDIS.
Look beautiful.
So now then we have
one's
this.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now So we've got this shot of devastated London. Which we'll come back to in a minute because we see it again, and I think I know what's going on in this situation. Then we've got the Stephen Moffat episode, and here we go. So we've got the Doctor and Ruby outside the TARDIS, looking upon the devastation of London in the 60s. I think this is Pyramids of Mars moment.
Yes. Yeah.
I think this is the Doctor saying, I reckon Ruby said, "Oh well, let's just leave it," and the Doctor's like, "This is what is going to happen if we don't step in." He says it here in the trailer. This is what we're trying to stop. And I think, what better way to do it than how they did it in Pyramids of Mars and say, this is London if you want to get off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably only pop forward to 2024. Because that's kind of what it looks like at the moment. So yeah, definitely kind of Pyramids of Mars vibes. And then we've got this domesticity again with Ruby and her mum. And then this shot of Ruby with the musical notes coming off of her. So I am going to say that's probably supposed to be Studio 1/2 at Abbey Road, because I don't think that they've got the dimensions quite right for that room. I think Russell said it's supposed to be Studio 2,
right,
which is where the Beatles recorded. Yeah. But I think actually what they've done is fabricate Studio 1 because it's larger.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that is probably from the finale. Maybe Ruby has to sing her way out of this situation. She's kind of all bound up.
she's all bound up with the musical notes and stuff, which is very cool.
Maybe if she hits the devil's chord, she gets released from it or something.
Oh, maybe. And she's meant to be a singer. So and then we've got Carla saying, "I'm still her mum. I need to know she'll be okay. You'll keep her safe." Right. Now we have a new Doctor costume. So, what do you think of this outfit?
Let me find out where you're at. So this is the red jumper, is it?
Yeah.
It kind of looks like a thermal layer you might wear if you go skiing.
Right. Okay.
Why? What do you think?
It's very pedestrian.
Okay.
And I look at this scene of the Doctor holding Carla's hand, and I don't look at it and go, "Oh, that's Doctor Who." I go, this could be anything. This could be any drama. I could have flicked through anything. And this is my issue with the Doctor's costumes, I think.
Okay.
Is that you go from having something that is incredibly doctory. I mean, I love his leather jacket outfit. I think he looks great. And I love all of the costumes that he wears to fit into the different time zones. But I think as soon as you start putting him in leather jackets with white t-shirts and then something like this, for someone who, as a person, Ncuti Gatwa is such an eccentric dresser. He dresses like Doctor Who in real life. And then you put him in something that looks like he could have just bought it from H&M and just makes him look like a man on the street. It's very pedestrian.
The irony, of course, being that jumper t-shirt is probably several thousands of pounds.
It probably is, but do you know what I mean? It does make it look like I could have just flicked over and this is anything,
But if you flash back to Rose, there's a strange man in my bedroom and him leaning against the door. If you saw that as a freeze frame, you wouldn't know that's Doctor Who. And it's kind of the same domestic setting, some random bloke.
It's the same sort of thing. I mean, I wasn't, we've all sort of said, while it worked at the time, he doesn't feel very doctory, Christopher Eccleston, in his outward appearance necessarily.
Yeah.
But I think it's funny with Ncuti that that they've given him such doctory costumes, but then also they kind of take it away from him as well. It's weird. I'm not buying the way that they're doing his costuming. I wish they'd have sort of gone more traditional and said, well, look, this is the silhouette and we will do permutations on that, different
and
themes.
Then, like a Regency outfit and a 60s outfit.
And then, this is obviously a Doctor that likes to dress up, which is great. That's good fun. But then it takes me out of it. I look at this and I was like, that's not Doctor Who. That's Eric from Sex Education, But hell, also, in fact, I think Eric from Sex Education had better Doctor Who costumes.
Contextually, he's having a sit down at the table. He's having a chat with Carla. He's probably taken his jacket off and hung it up. You're playing
the devil's advocate here, you bugger.
I am playing the devil's advocate. It's my role on this podcast seems to be always to play the devil's advocate. I think it's all going to be contextual, because if it means that they have a deep conversation and the Doctor's like, well, let me get my literal costume off to have a proper conversation, sitting there baking in this leather jacket, squeaking every single time I move, it might slightly kill the vibe of a deep conversation about I will keep your daughter safe. So,
I don't know. I think that's part of the charm of it. I think that's why the domesticity works in Doctor Who, is because I think that is there to remind you that he is not one of us.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that's my worry, is that, are they domesticating the Doctor too much? Are they just making him seem a bit too normal and a bit too down to earth? Yeah, a bit too cozy. And I think, the Doctor can be cozy to an extent, but I think you always got to have that slightly removed feeling of like, well, he's not one of us. And I think especially after looking at how Christopher Eccleston was in Aliens of London, and, crikey, look at Tom Baker in Horror Fang Rock that we reviewed the other day. He is totally not one of us. So it's a very far removed thing. I know I'm going to get inundated in the comments with people saying, oh, but this Doctor has got all of the bad vibes away because they've had Doctor Who therapy, and so none of that stuff matters anymore. But that's what makes the character interesting. I hate all this stuff about like, oh, he's gone through therapy and now we're all, it's sunshine and rainbows. Bollocks. What makes the character interesting is the mystery and the stuff that is kept back. And I don't know. I
How many of the people that listen to this podcast do you think actually sound like that?
Well, I don't know, but
I love that. Okay, but so
I've seen it going around. I've seen people saying that, like, oh, he doesn't need to. I mean, I'm not saying he needs to be a brooding figure by any means, but I just think.
I think you're right. That separation, I think it is highlighted by the outfit, because it's like you pan around a space station and everybody's in these uniform weird outfits, and then suddenly there's somebody in the corner with a floppy hat and a scarf. Yes. It is sort of, what I'm wearing actually doesn't matter. Like I'm omnipotent in that sense.
Yeah.
But you don't get that sense of otherness and separation from the rest of the universe with what he's wearing.
And I think particularly when it's an earthly present day setting like this, that's the problem, is that he just blends in. And maybe that's what they want. Maybe they want a Doctor that blends in more.
Also, though, he's very striking. He's very...
Oh, yeah.
He's very well... he puts himself together really well.
Yeah.
And also, he's quite short. So I wonder if... I genuinely wonder, if you do that sort of shot of panning around a space station,
everyone's a foot taller than he is.
Well, yeah, because he's going to stand out more. So do you think putting him in a bit of a clown outfit is going to sort of maybe make it look a bit too silly?
I don't know. Because I think the leather jacket looks cool. And I think I think it's a striking look. And I mean, so much of the promo material that we've seen has him in that outfit. That was that fantastic comic cover that came out yesterday with the Cybermen on. Love the fact that all of the modern Cybermen are kept in the shadows and all the old good ones are like front and center, because they're like, can't really top these guys, can you? Tune into our Patreon, where we did a ranking of all the Cybermen designs and basically said just that. So I don't know. I think that's a misstep, personally.
Okay.
It's just, even at the beginning, seeing him come out in his Grease outfit, I just sort of thought, you look too normal. It's very pedestrian. Which I'm sure for Ncuti Gatwa, if he hears that I said he looked pedestrian, he'd probably shriek and think, what? No, I'm a fashionista. I can't look pedestrian. Yeah. But I don't know. Anyway, that's just my 2 pennyworth on it.
I love how that's the thing we've spent the most of our time talking about.
Doctor Who's jumper. I'm turning into now. If they'd have put a few question marks on it,
no, that's a different matter.
See, that would
just one massive question mark. In the middle,
like the Riddler.
Yeah.
I will keep her safe. I promise. I bet that's going to bite him in the ass.
I bet that's a lie.
So then we've got a bit more from the Devil's Cord.
Yeah.
Sonic screwdriver torch. Ruby gives him a look as if to say, all right, mate. It's a bit bright, isn't it? It's taking me all this time, she says. And then David Bowie comes in with changes.
Changes.
So we've got different variations of Ruby.
Yes.
Now, do we think that this is all from one episode, maybe? Do you think that there's some sort of time manipulation thing and there's like different versions of her?
Maybe, because that was something. So I think the first one is from whichever episode that involves the TARDIS, as we see later on, covered in moss. And also the stuff that was shot with that woman in the distance and Shooty with his orange beanie on.
Yeah.
That all seems to be from that one episode. I don't know what this middle one is from, of her in what looks like an old pub somewhere in the West Country. Most West Country countryside pubs look like that.
Well, maybe that's it. Maybe she's on her own.
Well, yeah, there is an episode, and I'm interested to see how it fits in. Yeah, and I think it's one where she's solo with Kate Stewart for the majority of it, by the looks.
Right.
Where she goes to Cardiff City's ground, and so I wonder if there is a bit of like the Doctor gets stranded somewhere, and she has to sort of go out on her own and do her thing. But if so, that means that there's sort of 2 episodes this season where the Doctor is sort of kneecapped and can't interact with the story too much. But
he's busy filming Sex Education.
Shooty was busy doing other things. So maybe that ties into all of it.
So she's having a little bit of toast. Then she's having a glass of wine, looking very studious in her glasses.
Very studious. I don't know now, as we go to this clip from... So she's throwing a book at somebody.
Yeah. From
the Regency episode. And then that smash cuts to... I don't know what that is flying through the window of the control room.
I think that's a stool.
Road. It's a stool.
That's like probably from a drum kit or something, maybe.
Yes, it does look like a drum kit stool. You're right.
Yeah.
But again... You'd have to have pretty good aim if you were throwing that into the Studio 2 control room, because it was up a massive fucking flight of stairs. So that's another one of those things. It's fucking hell, just go there and take photos of it. That's not what it looks like.
And then we got another shot from the Christmas episode.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So Ruby at this time is talking about, it's taken me all this time to realise what I meant to do, and I'm going to save the world. So, is that from the finale, perhaps?
Yeah,
who knows?
yeah.
And then we've got her in some sort of a blizzard. And then we've got her again in some sort of weird alien world. I think this might be the Stephen Moffat episode again. I think that was the outfit she was wearing when she was firing that gun.
Love that shot.
It's cool, isn't it? With that weird like alien moon in the background. Very good, We are a long way away from the CSO days.
A long way away.
A nice shot of the TARDIS flying over the Earth. Then we've got Bonnie. Bonnie riding on an orange Vespa.
Bonnie's stunt double.
Well, Bonnie's stunt double,
Because when we cut to the shot of them zooming past. And also, I think it's Shooty's stunt double as well.
Probably.
Yes, it's definitely not either of them.
So there's zipping around, running away from who knows what.
Or, I'm guessing, is it that big
cloud, I think.
Cloud?
Yeah. But is there something in the dust cloud?
Well, that was the day that people apparently heard Daleks being mentioned on set.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I'm very relieved to watch a Doctor Who trailer and not see Daleks in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there are Daleks. I think that was a purposeful bit of misdirection. I think they probably said, right, for this, rather than saying big cloud, Daleks, scream, you know. And then we've got the TARDIS again in unit with some more changes. Again, I think this is another shot from episode 1. The Doctor in his blue jumper.
Lovely cut here where they cut to the Ruby Road stuff. So obviously that is going to hang very heavily over this season.
Yeah. Interesting. It'll be. I think this is probably going to end up being a story we end up going back to Church on Ruby Road to really digest what goes on later on.
Exactly. Rather than having like a series thread that leads directly to the end, it's like everything is tailing off of what we've already seen. Yeah. And I think that's, as we've said before, that's going to also involve the toy maker and their involvement. And all of the stuff that's happened since they've been sort of featured in the show.
Yeah.
And Mavity as well, all of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of threads. And the lady, Susan Twist.
And Susan Twist and Triad and all of that stuff that keeps being mentioned. So I've got a couple of comments. Yeah, go on.
I'm going to put my hat in the ring, and I reckon she's the meddling monk.
Meddling monk?
Yeah. I think that's who she might be.
Is that reinforced by Shooty in his hood?
I think possibly reinforced by the monk's habit, but my thinking was, obviously she's a time traveller. Mm-hmm. Obviously she's a time traveller that is kind of playful, because obviously, she's just popping up here and there. Doesn't seem to be doing anything too sinister at the moment, anyway, from what we can see. And then I thought, well, if she is meant to be Susan Triad, Trinity, Holy Trinity, maybe religion, I don't know. Maybe it's just a kind of a little wink and a nod, perhaps, to that character.
Okay.
And I think
did see another one to do with Triad.
Oh, okay.
Which was
the
Susan
Silurians.
Triad. Well, nice. Susan Triad, S Triad. S Triad is an anagram of TARDIS.
Oh, that makes more sense than my Holy Trinity one. God the Father, God the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
That's like listening to a flat earther try and explain what's going on, and you just end it by going, well, it's not actually.
Oh, yeah. That does make sense. No. Well.
Who knows?
Not the monk, then. It's the TARDIS.
Well, no, maybe the monk.
Because
the monk has a TARDIS.
The monk does have a TARDIS, as Vicky so rightly told us at the end of episode 2. Was it episode 2 or 3? 3 it might be.
3. The monk's got a TARDIS.
Yeah. But Russell did say, didn't he, that all the sparks that we see coming off the TARDIS in the vortex, they're important. So maybe some, and the wild blue yonder stuff. Yeah. What has happened? Something's gone cocked.
Yeah.
There's some cock, and it's not just the Doctor's jumper.
No, the Doctor's jumper hasn't ruined everything just yet, but I think it's going to be, Mavity and all of that shit, the toy maker. And I think that's going to have an impression on all the supernatural stuff you're talking about as well, because it's like the characters from the land of fiction sort of coming through, like maybe the rules of the universe and the rules of physics aren't playing the way that they should do.
Yeah. And I love that.
Why we've got all this shit going on.
And I said when we did Church on Ruby Road, I loved all that with the goblins, that their technology, like you said, doesn't apply to the same rules that ours does. That I thought was great. There were some good concepts there. So I hope, like you said, stuff like that, I'm excited to see where it goes. I think, to be honest, the more we're talking about it, the more I'm starting to feel that bit of like, I could be getting on board with this. But
excellent.
Like I said at the start, the proof of the pudding is in the tasting, or as I said, the taste the pudding.
Taste the pudding. Just taste the pudding. Everybody go out and taste the pudding, and we'll see what happens.
Speaking of taste the pudding, when we went to Cardiff today, we bought a donut, a Biscoff donut, which is about as big as my head. Nice. Which I will be enjoying after this podcast. I thought
I'm very jealous.
Yeah, I thought I'd just put that out there.
Thanks for making me hungry. Cheers.
That's all right.
So we've got all these callbacks to Ruby Road coming through with the Doctor in the club again, which was shown earlier as well.
Was it? Did we see that? Oh yes, we did, didn't we? Yeah. I didn't really want to be reminded of that scene.
Okay.
Then we've got these two in the rain. I think.
Yeah.
And then we've got the snow. Then we've got the Doctor in his Regency outfit, sonic screwdriver in hand, of him saying classic, isn't it? That was that bit that we saw in the other trailer. So there's a suggestion that maybe Mr. Goff, who's playing that interesting character, might be Captain Jack. That seems to be a rumor going around. That's what I'm saying as well.
And I could buy that because there's the shot at the end when you can change time caption comes up.
Yeah.
Of the Doctor sort of saluting, which already is sort of like a thing.
Yeah.
But to me, it looks like I wouldn't be surprised if the reverse shot is Jack's ship flying above this Regency thing and then flying off. So I would go along with that for the time being.
And then I think that would make sense as to why it's David Tennant's Doctor on the hologram. Because obviously that is the Doctor that he had probably not the most interaction with, but the one that he saw most recently. No, he saw Jodie, didn't he? Oh, yeah. Okay, fair enough. I forgot about that.
Isn't that crazy? I completely forgotten he was in that story.
It's mad, isn't it? But I guess he had a fondness for David Tennant. I don't know. I'm clutching at straws here now. My argument's falling apart. But I was sharing this with Luke at work. Shout out to Luke, because he likes Doctor Who, and we were sharing this trailer and chatting about it. And I mentioned this, and he was like, "Well," he was like, it doesn't. If his face changes, it's Doctor Who, so they can do anything. Yeah. They can make sense of it somehow. But of course, he turns into the face of Bo. So if he ends up turning into the guy from Mindhunter in the interim before he turns into a big head in a jar, then why not?
I wonder if they said, we've used AI to reverse what the face of Bo would have looked like. And it turns out that of all the casting photos we have on this desk, it's this guy. No offense, mate.
Yeah. And again, another musical actor. He's a Broadway star. So, much like John Barrowman was. So maybe that's part of the necessity for that role. You need to be an American. Well, I mean, he's not really American, is he, John Barrowman? He's a Scot, but you've got to have an American accent when it suits you, and like show tunes. So, yes, the salute. I think that's it. That salute suggests that. I mean, some people are saying he's just another time agent, and maybe he is. Maybe he's Captain Jack's.
I think
roommate.
Yeah, but why would you not cast somebody who theoretically doesn't look like a Captain Jack recast?
Yeah, I mean that's it, isn't it? He's got that sort of suave, handsome look about him. I mean, the thing is, I sort of said to Luke, I was like, well, would Russell do it? Russell's still, as we've seen on Instagram, Russell is still good friends with John Barrowman, much to the annoyance. I don't know
if you should look into that in that way. I mean, like, good friends in as far as they work together for a very long time.
Yeah.
And maybe socially they hang out. But also, like, Russell's been liking comments from people saying all sorts of random shit on his...
That is true.
Posts. And
I just don't know. I was like, if he's that friendly with him, would he turn around and say, look, you've been cancelled, so I've got no choice but to recast your part. Sorry, mate.
I mean, yeah. I mean, honestly, I'd say for the benefit of... Even for the benefit of John Barrowman to go... I mean, this is all depending on whether or not Jonathan Groff is even playing Captain Jack.
Yeah, Jonathan Groff, that's it. I knew it was something like that. Yeah. I think I said Goff.
Goff.
Michael Goff as Captain Jack.
No, that's a bad look. That you kind of go... In that argument, look, this at least opens the door for the character to stay around, and you could always come back. So
if you can keep your cock in your trousers,
if you can stop doing some of the stuff that people haven't even heard of that we know about, then because it's invariably with stuff like that, it's not even the stuff you know of, is it?
Yeah, Annie and I were talking about this the other day, and we were sort of saying, I bet there's stuff that went on during those years that. We don't even scratch the surface yet that what we've heard. And I'm sure Eccleston has got a file somewhere of shit to dish out. Yeah. Bless him.
I don't think he's that vindictive. I think he just lets it lie. But I think I think it does benefit.
And then he'll drop it at a
character.
convention sometime when he's
just anonymously drop it around somebody's house. Yeah.
Oh, this happened.
This happened over there. I think it does benefit the character and ultimately anyone who's played the character before to keep it going.
Yeah.
But it would also kind of make sense with some of the stuff that John has posted in the last couple of years of like, you know, being betrayed and not speaking to people anymore, and you know when it's the last time you'll speak to a certain person, you know, all that sort of shit,
all that weird stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess the other thing is, you know, John Barrowman, unlike Captain Jack, cannot stay young and handsome forever.
Right.
You know, and we know that Captain Jack is a creature of vanity. So maybe if he thinks, well, my face is wearing out, maybe I just need to have a bit of a touch up. And if it's good enough for my mate, the Doctor, it's good enough for me.
There you go. And there's even lines about you've had a facelift.
Yeah.
And the Doctor's like, you can talk, you know, all of that's happened before.
Yeah, it's true. So then we have our musical number.
Yes.
We got the Doctor jamming with a load of girls. Oh, there's a few blokes there. But they're jamming. They're jamming in Abbey Road Studios.
They are. I wonder...
Can you fit that many people in there, Billy? You seem to know it better than anybody.
You know I think you may have been able to get that number of people in.
Yeah. Especially if the Beatles were playing.
Especially if the Beatles were playing, they could get anyone in there. I wonder if this whole thing is that they have to produce like an antidote song to
possibly
Jinx Monsoon, you know?
Yeah.
And like their whole thing is using music against people, but they kind of turn it round on Jinx Monsoon's character, and they're like, well, we'll use your powers to create a song of good versus evil, you know?
Yeah. A good song compared to your evil bastard
compared
song.
to whatever the fuck you've come up with. But whether or not that, I mean, it's going to be a Murray Gold joint for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But whether or not he tries to do something Beatley, or whether he tries to do something musical number of that time, you know?
Yes, this is it. Well, it's funny you should say that, because we were listening to the Beatles on our trip to Cardiff today, and I can't remember what song it was, but it was one of their early songs. Yeah. And I said to Annie, I said, it's incredible how the Beatles created a sound that whenever anybody says, oh, let's do a bit of music, like a bit of 60s style music, that is the sound that they try to emulate. So I imagine, like you said, it's going to be something along those lines, something quite Beatlesque.
Jangly 12-string guitars and vocal harmonies.
Yeah, it's the guitars and shit, isn't it? Yeah. So who knows? So then everything is possible. We've got a shot here of the Doctor from the Stephen Moffat episode again. Yeah. I think this is where he's wearing that purple jacket. We saw it in the trailer. Oh, this is the one that was the teaser of the Doctor opening his eyes.
Oh, yes.
That's that episode.
Got it.
So then we've got this lovely looking TARDIS.
I mean, I'll get on it now.
Yeah. A tatty TARDIS. If there's one thing that I love, it's a tatty TARDIS. I like a tatty box.
Don't you wish if they just...
A mossy box.
Matt loves a mossy box. He's seen a few of them in his time.
Yeah.
I wonder if... Fucking hell. I wonder if... It's always that one last little extra comment that just tips it over the edge. I wonder if I was Doctor Who, I would say, look, I'll give it a water blast, right? To get some of the moss off of it.
I love water blast in a mossy box.
he loves to water blast up. Oh, but I'd leave it as it is, you know?
I'd leave it as it is. There are some bouquets of flowers at the bottom.
Or are they wildflowers? I see one wrapped up in the middle.
I reckon Ruby is leaving the flowers there as like a sign of respect.
Yes, because the shot from before is like a reverse of that, and she's sort of kneeling down in front of it. So that might be over the period where she has to sort of go out on her own to deal with stuff. Because if this is the same episode with Kate and they go to Cardiff Stadium and all that sort of stuff, I mean, this could conceivably be South Wales. and the pub as well.
Yeah,
that she's in with the countryside stuff behind her.
Yeah,
the horseshoes and all that.
She's gone to the pub to have a cup of tea and just to try and get her head together. What do I do now? The TARDIS is dead. The Doctor is gone. What happens next? And this in itself harkens back to what the Doctor says in Parting of the Ways, isn't it? About, if I'm gone, just leave the TARDIS there and it will grow old and covered in moss. And
also Wild Blue Yonder as well.
And Wild Blue Yonder as well, yeah.
Which a lot of people have been referencing. And I don't know, I think it's easy to obviously link that sort of stuff because it's in the text and it's right in front of us and we're looking at it. But it's also worth remembering that a lot of this stuff was written before Russell even started working on Series 1. Yeah. So it's probably just a case of it was buzzing around his mind, and when he wrote that bit of dialogue, he thought, that's a nice visual. I'll use that later,
Yeah,
and
it is a lovely visual. Yeah, it's great. So we've got, a bit more David Bowie saying, time may change me, but I can't trace time.
Yeah.
And then, we've got a shot of some lights flicking on. Sorry, it went very quickly.
Some lights flicking on. But the very last shot is very interesting.
Kate Stewart.
Because
Melanie Bush.
Got a bit of Melanie Bush.
And the Doctor.
Mossy Bush. And then the last shot. Bush. That's a stage name. The last shot.
That's going to be my new drag name, I think. Mossy Bush.
Mossy Bush. The last shot is of Ncuti Gatwa from the 60th episode.
Yeah.
The 60th episode.
Yeah.
Winking to camera. Now, obviously, we've seen a down the lens delivery.
Yeah.
Not that kind of
I was delivery. Just about to say, is he's still talking about Doctor Who, or he's back on mossy boxes?
We've seen this in the 60th, obviously, with Mrs. Flood.
Oh, yes.
Looking down the lens. Now, do we think this still plays into...
Mrs. Flood looking down the... Yeah.
Do we think this plays into...
They don't call her Mrs. Flood for nothing.
Fucking hell. Do we think that this plays into the whole supernatural things aren't quite right thing of, okay, now we're breaking the fourth wall sort of thing? Like, where the fuck does that come into it, the Flood thing, before we even talk about Ncuti's wink?
God knows. God knows. I mean, she's been conspicuous by her absence, other than that one shot where she drops her shopping, which was Mrs. Flood pre the Doctor wiggling around with time. Yes. After that, then she becomes...
a bit weird.
Yeah. I think we can read this in one or two ways. I think this is either the Doctor... we've seen other Doctors do it. Tom used to do it. Peter Capaldi has done it. Looked at the camera and done those little things.
I think that there's a difference between listen and him looking down the barrel of the lens, where that's less of a direction to the audience. But Ncuti is literally winking at the camera here. So unless this is the culmination of a musical number, but it's still like the Doctor Who plays by certain rules, but also breaks a lot. And one of them has never been to acknowledge, hey, you're watching a TV show. We're in the same universe here. You know what I mean?
What about, the other Peter Capaldi episode, Before the Flood, that one where he does the whole monologue to camera, doesn't he? He does do that.
But I suppose that's more of a drama convention. It's kind of, that's different to looking down the lens and acknowledging the audience at home.
I also think we could also possibly have an instance here where the Doctor's winking at the camera, but we might then cut to someone beyond Ruby that maybe he's acknowledging. And then, maybe they just thought, that works as like a little fun thing. Yeah. Who knows?
But I think considering what we saw in the 60th... It's probably more likely
he's, little nod to the folks at home. Merry Christmas to all of you at home, like William Hartnell said.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like it hasn't been done before. Yeah,
it all goes back to Billy. All goes back to old Billy. And that's it. That's the end of it. That's the end of David Bowie. We get this lovely shot of the TARDIS with the multicolored wigglies, and then the nice metallic version of the logo. So many different versions of this going on. We've got this one, which looks really great. We've got the one that was in the little teaser from the other day with the multicolored strands, all of which look better than the actual title sequence.
Yes.
Which, I mean, and I liked the title sequence, but I just think those versions just look pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
So, there we go. That was the first big trailer.
I've got a couple of things just to say here from just from a weird things I've noticed, or weird thing I've noticed. Disney Plus have recently changed their layout and their logo.
Right. Okay.
So the splash page when you first load it up is a different color and all that sort of stuff. Now, if you go on the BBC Doctor Who YouTube account's upload of this trailer from a day ago,
you're right. I'm going to do that now.
362,000 views.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is not great. Let's be honest.
No.
But the Disney Plus one has 1.7 million views.
Oh, wow.
Which is obviously fantastic.
Yes.
And I was looking through the Disney Plus YouTube channel to see what had reached that sort of audience prior. I mean, really looking at it, it's only Taylor Swift.
Right.
There was a spot which came up for the Super Bowl that got 2.8 million views, but nothing in the past 2 months has got over like 300,000 views on their YouTube channel.
Wow.
So that, and the fact that they've chosen this time before this big series launches on their network to refresh their presentation, I think for all the stuff that we've said that might be a bit difficult with viewing the show at different times and blah, 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 undoubtedly now, although it will always remain on BBC One for UK viewers, this is a Disney show. And I think we need to stop thinking of it as a BBC programme now.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be the biggest IP that Disney have had on their platform that isn't Marvel or Star Wars.
Yeah.
And they'll want a slice of that naturally. So I think it's probably fair to assume that however long this partnership lasts, we just have to view this as a Disney program now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's fair enough.
And I think seeing what they've done and the money they've put into it with the trailer and what we're seeing already coming out from the series, I think it's no bad thing. It's frustrating for some people who, prefer the kind of more purist way of viewing Doctor Who. But in the UK, that isn't really changing.
No.
It's just, it's a bit to get your head around. But
it's only really changing for the people. It's only really changing for us sad bastards who, follow all the Twitters and all that sort of stuff. If you're not one of those people, if you're Joe Public, chances are you're probably just going to see, Doctor Who's on at 7:00 tonight. Put that on. They're not going to go, what? It's on at midnight, BBC iPlayer. I'm not staying up till then. And I guess, think how many people just watch it on iPlayer anyway.
Exactly. And they're not in Twitter groups and are going to be worried about it getting spoilt for them, are they?
Yeah.
So
No. I think Annie said it best the other night because I hadn't really thought of this. And she said to me, she said, I'm gutted that this has happened because she said, I came over to the UK and we watched the 60th specials together. And she said, did she watch Power of the Doctor? I think she did watch Power of the Doctor as well. Bless her. And she said, those were the only instances where I got to watch Doctor Who as it went out properly as a TV show where, everyone sat down to watch it together. She said, and now that's gone. She said, I only had like 4 episodes and then I've now... I don't get that experience. She said, and I was, and she enjoyed it so much, that thought of like, we've got a couple of hours and Doctor Who's going to be on. And that's a shame. But I mean, I know telly's changing and the world's changing.
Well, telly's changing. And
like
also.
the trailer said,
everything's changing.
Yeah.
Changes. I I think you get used to it. I mean, I know I'm saying that, and Annie's already obviously experienced watching it as an international viewer.
Yeah.
But I adjusting to it here, and when the 60th was on, getting up at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning to watch it, it still felt like an event. It was just different, and I think it's just that it is just going to feel different for people, and that's going to be odd to kind of adjust to initially. But people will get used to it, and they'll still feel the same buzz for it because it's still the same show.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is it, when, going back to me watching X-Men on Wednesday, that was it. I got up Wednesday morning and I put it on and we had our breakfast and we watched it and, I loved it. And I thought, this is just going to be Doctor Who, getting up in the morning, quick, let's make some breakfast. Let's all sit down and
get it on before work.
Get it on before work.
It'll be the weekend, won't it?
It'll be the weekend, thank God. God, could you imagine that before work? I did have to bring up work and say, I'm changing my hours, I'm afraid.
You'd have to. I thought we just turned to some of the comments left on Twitter.
Yes.
Asking what people's theories might be for what's coming up. Jonathan Reed says, time has become more flexible. Changes ripple out more easily, like the butterfly being stepped on. The series arc will be about dealing with these changes while the Toymaker's legions sweep across the universe. Babel Colour, the legend himself, says the reference about where the TARDIS may go when set to random of the mossy hill and from the line from Well Blue Yonder. What else have we got here? Oscar Groucho says, I think we can guess Jonathan's favourite shot. What do you think Jonathan's favourite shot from the trailer was?
Yeah. One with Millie Gibson in, probably?
Probably.
Yeah. Two spring to mind.
The Numbers Don't Lie says that's Jonathan Groff's character. That'll be a recast of Captain Jack.
I'm up for that, actually. I'm up for it being Captain Jack.
Yeah.
I think that'd be quite cool. Because I love the character. I think Captain Jack is great.
CC Moore 20 says time is easier to change because of Mavity and the monk is taking advantage of it, as you said.
Yeah, interesting.
Interesting. My crazy theory, says Dominic Woodman, is that Matt will enjoy the new season.
I hope so. I want to. God, it's my favourite programme. Yeah, I'm sure I will. And I'm looking forward to the 60s musical one.
That'll be fun.
I know I moaned about the musical element in the Christmas special, but obviously this story, there is an actual there's a musical enemy. So this is what I keep saying. It's like, if there's a reason in the text for it to happen, I'm all for it. But, I don't just want the Doctor to be chatting to bloody Carla over a cup of tea saying, I will look after your daughter, and then kick the chair from underneath him and then start doing a bloody song and dance number.
Right.
And they're thinking, what's going on?
What's going on? Christopher Clark says the big bad will be a supernatural being, as that seems to be where the show is heading. Also, Johnny will say it's the best New Who season he has seen. That is my wildest theory to date. So,
I can guarantee you I will put every penny that I own that is not what's going to get said.
I agree. It's nice thinking, Christopher, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think you've got a better chance of calling out the winning lottery numbers than
Probably. So, thinking about how, far away we still are. I mean, it's like a month and a half, really, until the series comes out.
Yeah.
And we've had the main trailer. Obviously, we'll have like a launch trailer and a trailer for that first episode, I would guess. Yeah. It's going to be weird thinking like the BBC are going to have to do their own weekly trailers that are going to be different to the Disney ones. In fact, if you go on the BBC Doctor Who YouTube channel version, they've frozen the Doctor Who logo, but you can still hear the Disney click in the background.
Oh, really?
So kind of odd, like the BBC don't have control over that.
Yeah, that's very Doctor Who-y, that is.
Yeah, very.
No one muted the sound.
So we'll do, I guess, a preview before the series starts.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then, of course, we'll have that first run of episodes coming out in that weekend in May. We'll figure out how we cover that. when it comes round to it.
That we're gonna have to really put our heads together, and you know, crikey, that's gonna be a long episode of us chatting about that story and then the next story. But
yeah.
You know, our hands are tied. The mouse has tied our hands.
The mouse has tied our hands and is experimenting with our mossy bushes, and we have to just let him do it.
There's a mouse rummaging around my mossy bush.
Get that on a t-shirt. All right, then. Dear. That's that, I think.
Very good. Oh, well, thank you, everybody, for watching. And, let us know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed us talking about Doctor Who and mossy bushes. And, we'll see you next time for the Ambassadors of Death.
Yes.
Very different. Very different. But, yes, we'll see you then. Goodbye.
Goodbye.